So here we go, full frame versus crop sensor. What's the difference? If you're here, it's likely that you're in the market for a new camera and are seeing the term full frame sensor and a crop sensor popping up during your search. My goal with this video is to explain the difference between a full frame sensor and a crop sensor. I want to keep it simple and easy to understand. The reason why this topic comes up so much is that the biggest jump in price you're going to notice on camera bodies is the difference between a full frame versus a crop sensor. So, what is a sensor and how does it work? The sensor directly defines the camera. A crop sensor is found in a crop camera and a full frame sensor is found inside a full frame camera body. The sensor is a platform inside your camera that contains light-sensitive pixels. These pixels capture the light coming through the lens and digitally record the light and color values for your camera to process. Although one will be inclined to think that the more pixels, the more information, and therefore the better resolution, pixels aren't only about quantity, but also about size. So simply put, a bigger sensor has sometimes more pixels, but most importantly, it has bigger pixels. Therefore, each pixel can capture more information within, making your final image better resolution and higher quality. A full frame sensor is what you find in semi-pro and pro cameras. The size of that sensor is 36mm by 24mm and is known as a 1x crop factor, aka no crop. A crop sensor is often referred to an aps-c, and they are found inside smaller and cheaper cameras. This type of sensor is a 1.5 or 1.6 crop factor. That means the sensor is roughly 2/3 of the size of a full frame one. So full frame versus crop sensor. The biggest differences. The camera sensor size will affect three main things. 1. The resolution and quality of the images you produce. 2. The size of the camera itself. And 3. The price. As I explained above, the bigger the sensor, the more and the bigger the pixels. Therefore, the more information and resolution your image will have. This is the main and most important difference between a full frame versus a crop sensor. For this reason, the better the sensor, the more expensive the camera will be. But another difference you will notice is the size of the camera itself. As you can imagine, the bigger the sensor, the heavier and the bigger the camera will be, making everything that goes with that camera bigger, heavier, and often more expensive. Let's talk about lenses and how they come into play with the sensor. This is the part that often gets confusing for people. While the issue of compatibility will differ from brand to brand, most brands will have a line of lenses for the crop cameras and another for the full frame sensor. You're usually able to use a full frame lens on a crop sensor, but you will be cropping out 1/3 of the view. While with crop lenses, which are obviously much cheaper, you're usually not able to use them on a full frame camera body. If you want to learn more about lenses, I have another video on my channel explaining lenses in depth, how they work, and what all the differences between them means. When you work on a crop sensor, unless you're using crop lenses, the regular field of view will be cropped by the 1.5 factor. So for example, a 50mm lens becomes a 75mm lens. A 24mm lens becomes a 36mm lens. So what you see on your crop sensor will be tighter than the real look of that lens. With a full frame camera, this is of course not an issue. So, does the sensor size really matter? Well, yes and no. If you're hoping to shoot for fun, maybe print some medium-sized images and play with editing, a crop sensor should be more than enough for you. But if you're hoping to do some heavy cropping, want very large print sizes, or plan on working with clients who might want to print billboards and posters, you might want to get a full frame camera. I mentioned cropping because this is where you'll find the loss of quality more pronounced. When you crop an image, you're literally cutting out pixels of information. If you start off with a full frame camera, if you crop 1/3 of the image out, your new digital file has actually the same resolution as a crop sensor. So, a crop sensor camera does the cropping on camera, where a crop in post does it afterwards. But the result is the same loss of resolution. That's why a full frame camera gives you that extra option to crop in further. But there are some cons of a full frame sensor. Cons: higher in price, heavier and bigger body. It requires more expensive lenses that cater to that full sensor. The pros: better resolution and higher quality, better use of pro lenses, true to view with lenses. What that means is when you see the focal length on a lens, it usually refers to the view represented by a 35mm camera, which is the same field of view as a full sensor camera, as opposed to the crop sensor, which you need to figure out what it means. So in summary, if you're not planning on doing photography professionally, a crop sensor will always be more than enough for you. Crop sensor cameras are more affordable, they will provide you with plenty of quality and resolution, and you will never know the difference. I didn't upgrade to a full-frame sensor until I was 2 years into my professional career. I shot crop sensor cameras for 4 years. But if you decide to go the pro route, you will eventually want a full-frame camera. If you're just starting out, going with the baseline camera is a great idea, although I know some people are wanting to go straight into a full sensor, and that's okay. It comes down to budget and if you think you'll be wanting to upgrade sooner or later. So if you have the money, I would suggest a full-frame camera, but if you're just starting out, it might be a bit too much to start with. If you're shopping for your first camera, I recommend to watch my video on the best cameras for photography beginners. And that's it for today. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. See you next time.